Alright, so I'm literally recording this just like right after uploading part two. Uh, Told y'all it's gonna, this new format I'll make it go quicker, so. Uh, yeah, last video we basically just covered Amon's time hanging out, collecting things, his beginning journeys of being a lich, made a few deals with a few powerful creatures, and after 60 years of searching for these jewels with no success. Eventually, Amon was approached by a mind flayer. He was out uh, studying the ranks of his military when this weird creature appeared to him and began speaking to him. Amon, even with his vast array of knowledge, had no idea what type of creature was standing in front of him at this point, so curious, he allowed the creature to state his case. The creature said that he went by the name of Falchron, and he informed Amon that he simply wished to save his kind from extinction, and that he wished to serve Amon in whichever way he deemed necessary. Amon interrogated this strange Lovecraftian creature and was impressed with his savvy and aptitude for leadership. The two worked together for some time, learning all they could about one another, and eventually Amon gave the command of his cult of the Silver Skull over to Falchron, this mind flayer. Arum, the Archfey, was not too keen on welcoming this new creature who was now joining their ranks. However, Amon had been very assertive in vouching for Falchron, so Arum was left with no choice but to accept this new addition. In fact, the Archfey seemed to dislike Falchron so much that he retired to the Feywild, very rarely leaving, and when he did leave, it was only ever for updates on how the search was coming along. One day, Falchron, after being out on his travels, returned to Amon's castle with a gift, a small army of devils. He informed Amon that the army was now under his control and would be of great use to them should the Perazorian government begin meddling in their affairs. After asking Falchron why in the world so many devils would make a deal with only one alien creature, Falchron assured Amon that he had not just sold his soul, but rather the souls of his entire race, or at least the ones that would be created because of him. Amon, seemingly satisfied with the answer, went back to his work. He had decided that he needed people inside of the Empire to help in his search for the jewels. He found various humans throughout the empires, northern and southern, who were down on their luck and struck deals with them. In return for serving the cult of the Silver Skull, they would become rich and powerful for generations, all funded by Amon's massive hoard of gold and artifacts. One of the families who served him was the Dunwa family. For generations they served him, using their new power status and political connections to learn of any of the locations that they could find. However, one member of this family would set into motion a series of events which would lead to Amon's downfall. Spoiler alert, by the way. After years of waiting, Falchron was the one who discovered the location of the second jewel. It was allegedly being protected by a tribe of furbolgs. Amon wanted to go and take the jewel himself, but Falchron convinced him to instead use the tools at his disposal. Amon agreed and sent a small company of bugbears and goblins to destroy the tribe and take the jewel. They succeeded, nearly wiping out the tribe entirely. So now, finally, the big three, Amon, Falchron, and Arum, had a second jewel of arrow after years and years of searching. And, only a few years later, another jewel was discovered, in a similar fashion, also by Falchron. This time, it was carried along by a herd of nomadic Goliaths. Falchron set the members of the Silver Skull upon them, wiping them out completely, allegedly, and grabbing the third jewel. Now, they had these 3 jewels, but only 2 of them needed them, and each of them only needed 4 to complete the ritual to become a lower-level deity. So, Amon kept the first one that was given to him by Arum. Arum was given the second one, and then Amon the third. So now, after Falchron had found 2 more of these jewels, Amon was now fully entrusting of Falchron, of this mind flayer, and he was growing pretty impatient with the lazy archfey who had done almost nothing to contribute to their cause. So he began to go to the mind flayer for advice on all things, and retired to his studies, giving Falchron full control of his entire military. Falchron was also given control of the continent of Perazor. Now, Amon technically didn't own it, but he assured Falchron that once him and Arum became gods, the mind flayer would have complete control of the continent and could do whatever he liked to it, as Amon would be a god and have no need for it. Falchron was invigorated by this idea, this news that he had been given, this gift, and he began imploring Amon to strike out against the divided northern and southern empires. Falchron believed that they could use the massive slave labor to search for the jewels with ruthless industrial efficiency. Amon was hesitant to act so hastily, and was instead convinced to do something else by a very unlikely person. A human man by the name of Michael Dunwa pleaded with Amon, saying that his family had served Amon loyally for generations, and that he instead could find the jewels much quicker with far less bloodshed. Amon agreed, somewhat. He gave Michael 2 years. The invasion would happen in 2 years, with or without the jewels. Also, a small attack would take place on both of the capitals of the Northern and Southern Empire, as a way of distracting the North and the South from what Michael was trying to do. This attack would be the start of the Tempest Wars, and the start of the first campaign that I made for this world, for my players. That's the whole reason why we have these videos in the first place. So we'll likely finish Amon's story in part 4, which will probably be released later this week, if not later this day at this rate. So thanks for watching.